Take Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
Get your risk-free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now. It's guaranteed to work or your money back. Visit tryrelaxium.com or call 800-898-9320. That's tryrelaxium.com or call 800-898-9320.
Hi guys, welcome back to XCOM 2 Long War of the Chosen Mod Jam. We're doing a 2024 run, and it probably will take us the bulk of the year.
Memorial Day on the 5. With Absorb.
Rolling out. Hostile forces spotted.
The program helped me a lot because I met other kids who were going through the same program, so I was able to relate and find somewhere where I could fit in. Thanks to your support of United Way, I'm able to achieve my dreams and become a doctor.
Let's do this.
The wounds of war never completely heal, but there are those willing to try. Matt Keenan, an American war veteran who was stationed in Da Nang in 1971. Through his charity work, he met Tonam. As a child, Tonam was a courier who helped deliver information about U.S. troop movements to the enemy. You know, just seeing you two together, wow, it makes me very emotional. My father didn't talk about it, so I had no idea what was possible.
Get it done.
Why is this possible? Your friendship.
We had come to learn to respect each other as military persons who were once on opposite sides, but now were friends. We remember the past, which you cannot forget, but we look forward to a better life in the future. We know you.
Matt have been trying to do good things, and it goes the same for me. I'm trying to do good things too. And on that foundation, we understand each other well, and for that, we have become friends.
You know, Matt, I want to talk with you about the war and just what impression it left with you and why you wanted to come back.
I had one lasting impression. It was the day I left. This must be a happy day. On the home. I went back to the airport, plane comes down, the ramp in the back comes down, and about 200 Vietnamese women and children just flying the back of that plane because they have to escape from the arms of the war north of Da Nang. That memory. And it inspires me to be a different type of soldier. A soldier of peace.
It's really eye-opening. I mean, I love the word possibility, but I realize now it's not big enough for that.
Understood.
This was more than possibility.
Got a target in sight.
This was God's miracle that I got to do. After leaving Da Nang, we drove hours farther north up Vietnam's eastern coast and arrived at a vibrant city with a history that stretches back to the 4th century. The imperial city of Red sits on the banks of the Turkey River. The imposing fortress once contained palaces home to the imperial family. Today, we know it as the location of one of the world's most consequential battles. A lot of people know the term Tet Offensive. Why does it
Nice shot.
matter that
Yeah, it's one of the most significant events of the entire Vietnam War. Tet is the Vietnamese New Year that they January 1968. I got the lives and at that time, typically during the war, they had a ceasefire. And that year, there's not one. Viet Cong assault the entire nation throughout the whole length and breadth of Vietnam. The traditional firecrackers of the Tet celebration became the fireworks of war. The Viet Cong attacked 5,000 come into this citadel on the night of January 30th. The communists bring the
Nice shot.
themselves in the citadel and the strategic spots throughout the city. They raised this flag, the flag of the communist movements. And for the South Vietnamese and Americans, that becomes a symbol that must be taken down.
we come in, this is about mile by mile square. There are these walls, it's a fortress. This is a tough nut to crack, and so it takes how long?
It's almost an entire month. This battle here is a brutal urban fight. All warfare is difficult, but urban presents different problems. It's three-dimensional.
Leadership got involved.
It went all the way to the top.
My dad used to say about leadership, you have to think like a general. You got to be able to do everything that you're telling everybody else they have to do. You're setting a standard. That sounds like how we won this part of the Tet Offensive.
That is 100% right. And the infantry we say, follow me. And that's what the leaders were doing.
We've been saying, hang your flag back, South Vietnamese.
Correct.
And then it doesn't hold because we, along with them, cannot do that.
The Americans had just been told that the end is in sight. And then all of a sudden, the end is not in sight. Support for the war in America evaporates after the Tet Offensive. Americans took to the streets in anger.
It's fascinating. And if it took all of that to take this mile to a mile and a half square in a month, I guess that was a sign that that was going to be a long conflict.
And now we don't seem to have an end game to how this is going to succeed.
All right, let's look up because this flag still stands over the citadel.
Got it. Moving.
Fuck off.
I'm Sean Larkin. Join me as police officers remember. Hit the road in memory of the departed and honor those who gave their
Holy fuck.
life. Officer Down, honoring the fallen with Sticks Larkin. Streaming now only on Fox Nation. If you're an active duty first responder, military, or military veteran, sign up now and get your first year free.
Ooh, carne asada. It's carne asada. That's what I said. Carne asada. Carne. Juicy carne asada. Carne asada. Carne. I did. And it's full.
Shit.
Golden Corral.
If you're shopping for Realtor.com's Real Choice Financing now gives you more ways to afford a home, like down payment assistance programs in your area.
Don't all apps do that?
Not really. Trust the #1 app Real Estate Professionals trust.
Ashley's Memorial Day mattress sale is going on now. Save big on adjustable mattress sets from Beauty Red Black, Purple, and Tempur-Pedic. Plus get 0% interest for 72 months on select in-store mattress purchases for better sleep and savings. Visit your local Ashley store or Ashley.com.
Phone call from the boss?
Sorry.
Outdoor time. Me time.
I hear that. That's why we protect all your vehicles here. But hey, nothing wrong with sticking it to the boss.
Oh, well, you gotta take that. Why would that concern me? Because you're are you?
Huh. We never actually discussed Ireland.
Okay, why don't we just stick to letting Dave know how much he can save when he bundles his home or auto with his boat or RV?
Wait, I thought Jamie was the boss.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022. Your information could be used to open loans, transfer hotels, or even commit crimes.
I had almost 20 accounts opened in my name. It was terrifying. I never dreamed it would happen to me.
Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats, all in one place. And if you're a victim, LifeLock works to fix it on your behalf, all backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. Enroll now. Blood clots can happen to anyone. Up to 900,000 people in the United States are affected by blood clots each year, and 100,000 die from them. Blood clots don't discriminate. You or a loved one could be at risk right now. The good news is blood clots can be prevented. Knowing the risks and symptoms are key. On average, one person in the United States dies of a blood clot every 6 minutes. Don't let that be you or someone you know. Learn more at stoptheclot.org/spread the word.
Does your student loan payment make you cringe? We get it. Saying goodbye to that much money every month can be tough. But by refinancing to a lower rate through Credible.com, you can drastically cut your monthly payments. At Credible, you get personalized rates from multiple lenders, so it's easy to find a refi that puts the most cash back in your pocket. And life with extra cash is, well, extra. Visit Credible.com now to see your new monthly student loan payment.
The schedule is out. The anticipation
Fuck.
coming home. This is a heavy weight matchup. Like the tackling dog. To the NFL. It's about to there. Yeah. The building is rocking. Let's go.
What's over there?
Game show fans wanted a show that would make a big splash. Oh my God. You're gonna love this.
We have nothing to fear.
Two families clap for a chance to win $100,000 cash. Do you have
That's gonna be okay.
options to play the win ball? This Tuesday on Fox. This year, make Father's Day special with the Fox News Shop's new Proud American Dad collection. From polos and hats to golf balls, a decanter set, and more. Show Dad the love with gifts you can't get anywhere else. Order now at foxnews.shop for holiday delivery.
Target's still up. Okay, I'll go.
Well, this is it, Brian.
On Overwatch.
The end of our journey together in Vietnam. And, you brought me to the DMZ. Why here?
We're on the Ben Hai River. This is the Hing Long Bridge. We're in the very center of the DMZ. During the war, when your dad was here and just a few kilometers south of here, this bridge symbolized a divided country. The north, right here in this line behind us, and the south. Today, it symbolizes a unified country. The DMZ no longer exists. It's one country. It may be communist, but it's one. And so this is where that war ends, and this is where the peace and bringing it together begins. So with that, I want to thank you for bringing me along this journey, and I think I want to leave you here with some time to reflect.
Absolutely.
I hope it's worth it.
Well, it is my journey, but I'm never alone. It's because you know that in my backpack this trip, I have carried my dad's military burial flag. This Vietnam today is not the same that he saw on his 2 tours as a combat pilot. It is one that hopes to be quite a close friend with America. And I think my dad would be happy about that. You know how I know? Because Dad's flag and I can just walk over this line with Dad watching from heaven. You and I will watch together to see what the future holds.
Get it done. Roger that.
My experiences in Vietnam made me feel closer to my dad than ever before. I knew there was one more thing I had to do. My dad's youngest brothers,
Fuck.
joined me for this final step of my journey. Texas weather. It was pouring rain. Didn't stop us. We were all together at his funeral, and they trifolded his flag. What do you think Dad would have thought about me returning to Vietnam?
He was extremely proud of you. I think he would be satisfied knowing that you finally were able to get maybe a fuller picture of his military service and how far he traveled for the freedom of this nation.
Yeah.
My mother used to write him letters all the time. She would cry, but she knew he was coming back. And I remember crying.
You cried.
Status confirmed.
Of course.
We've
That
secured a
was my big
civilian
brother.
contact.
I was called one time when we returned home, and all the kids in the neighborhood, everybody were coming outside to see him, and he was a hero. Everyone looked up to my big brother, Lieutenant Colonel Bobby R.
We were together when the military trifolded this and they handed me this flag. I thought maybe we'd take this time to gather over that flag. Just take a moment of peace.
I'm Shannon Briggs. As millions of Americans enjoy this Memorial Day weekend and remember the sacrifices of those who paid the ultimate price, President Biden and President Trump offered their competing views on the role of the U.S. military.
Thanks to the U.S. Armed Forces for doing what only Americans can do. As the indispensable nation, the world's only superpower.
We believe that the job of the United States military is not to wage endless regime change wars around the globe, senseless wars.
Weeks on the campaign trail as headlines are dominated by finger-pointing over a second failed border vote in Congress, the increasing isolation of Israel as the war in Gaza drags on, and bipartisan anger in Congress over how universities have handled student protests.
Taxpayer dollars have no business funding universities without principles
Status
that
confirmed.
align with
We've
the
secured a
principles of
civilian contact.
We'll talk with two members of Congress, Trump supporter Byron Donalds, a member of House Oversight, and Biden supporter Jared Moskowitz on House Foreign Affairs. Then,
There has been no evidence. There's no evidence.
the New York jury in the hush money case against Donald Trump begins deliberations this week. Our legal panel is on verdict watch and also looks ahead to the Hunter Biden gun trial. And
Did you ever send information related to COVID-19 to Dr. Fauci's personal email?
I don't remember if I did. I may have.
a former top advisor to Anthony Fauci grilled in Congress over allegations he may have tried to hide and potentially destroy smoking gun records on the origins of COVID. Our Sunday guest breaks down what it means for Americans' faith in our institutions. All this week on Fox News Sunday. Fox News in Washington. In your headlines today, a tornado touched down and crossed Interstate 35 in Denton, Texas Saturday, causing damage to homes, power lines, and trees. Just part of the severe storms that moved through Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, killing at least 5 people. And in Taiwan, a bipartisan U.S. delegation of House members has landed in Taipei to meet the island's new president. Comes just 2 days after China held war games in the Taiwan Strait, which the State Department is calling deeply concerning. In the Middle East, Hamas says it fired a series of rockets in Tel Aviv this morning. There are reports of rocket sirens in central Israel for the first time in months. No immediate reports of casualties or damage. In a moment, we will talk with Congressman Jared Moskowitz and Byron Donalds. But first, we turn to Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith with the White House. He's covering the latest on the 2024 presidential race. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Shannon. This week, President Biden returns to the campaign trail. He's going to be visiting the battleground state of Pennsylvania. The latest polls show him still locked in a very tight race with former President Trump, who's making an overt effort to win over black voters who Biden meets in November. Speaking of West Point's military commencement, President Biden vowed to continue U.S. military and economic support. Ukraine, even as its war with Russia stretches on for more than 2 years.
We're standing against a man who I've known well for many years, a brutal tyrant. We may not, and we will not walk away.
But here at home, the president's political future remains uncertain. A Quinnipiac University poll finds voters are split, with Biden leading former President Trump by only 1 point, 48 to 47%, well within the margin of error. Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee, spent Saturday night courting libertarians.
I'm asking for the Libertarian Party's endorsement, or at least lots of your votes.
Recent events in New York shows campaign's growing effort to win over minority voters.
It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are, it doesn't matter.
The Biden campaign says it's determined to hold on to black support. Last week, the president addressed graduates at Morehouse College.
You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. There was a reckoning on race. It's natural to wonder. Democracy we hear about actually works for you.
Notably, the president's tone was far different from then President Obama's address 11 years earlier.
Your generation is uniquely poised for success unlike any generation of African Americans that came before.
The Biden campaign was also recently dealt a blow after former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, a vocal critic of Donald Trump, came out to say she'll support Trump over Biden, who she called a catastrophe. The Biden campaign had been making very public attempts to try to win over Haley's supporters. Shannon?
So, Mark, while you're there at the White House, I have a foreign policy question as well. The issue of Israel, the Biden administration, what are they saying now about the pushback on the ICC, the warrants issued, not only against leaders from Hamas, but Israeli leaders as well?
Well, the White House has been quite outspoken about this. The president has been calling these arrest warrants for Israeli leaders outrageous, and now the administration is even saying it's open to possibly sanctioning the ICC down the line. Shannon?
Okay, Mark Meredith reporting from the White House. Mark, thank you very much. Joining us now, Florida Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Welcome back, Congressman.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I want to start there with the ICC. You've called these warrants outrageous. You have condemned them, as the White House has as well. You heard Mark Meredith there talking about potential sanctions. Now, you know, under the Trump administration, ICC officials were sanctioned. There were visa restrictions on their family members. There was even a counter investigation into alleged corruption. President Biden lifted those. Should he have left them in place?
Are well equipped to track down the
well, obviously, look, hindsight 2020, we are where we are today. I'm for putting those sanctions back in place. I'm for Congress acting on a bipartisan basis to go after the ICC. Let's take some facts here. When Assad killed 300,000 civilians using chemical weapons, if you recall, which was a red line for this country, did the ICC go after Assad? No, they didn't, because they said Syria was not a party to the ICC. When people have asked them to look at the human rights violations in China, have they gone after China? No, the ICC specifically said China is not a party to the ICC. But is Israel a party to the ICC? They are not. And yet they are now going after Israel. This is totally political. The ICC is irrelevant. They have no jurisdiction. We might as well call them the Harry Potter Ministry of Magic. They're irrelevant because Israel's not a party to their treaty. And so this is pressure, unfortunately, from the international community that wants to see no more Israel. They're using the ICC to go ahead and do that. And I think the United States
Save it just in case.
Strong bipartisan way, which is why you're seeing Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate and the Biden administration coming together. Hopefully we'll get that done when we get back from break.
Well, there's a lot waiting for you, as you know, when you come back. But one of the most recent bills, you struggled a little bit with your vote on it, ultimately voting for this bill in the House that would force the White House, essentially, to hand over all weapons that have been congressionally approved. And by the way, in a bill that the president himself signed, you had some concerns with the bill, but the president has talked about withholding certain things from Israel. You ultimately, 16 Democrats, included among them, decided to vote for that bill. Where do you think there has been some daylight, or are you worried there's some within your party, and maybe even the White House, that is sending confusing or mixed messages, not only to Israel, but to its enemies as well?
Well, the reason I was concerned about that bill is there were issues in there beyond Israel hamstringing potentially all of the administrations in the future. issue on Israel is that right now the reason there's no ceasefire is Hamas. Stop. There's no other conversation. Hostages out. Ceasefire. We need more pressure on Hamas. And anytime there's any daylight between the United States and Israel, Hamas has a reason and agreed to the ceasefire. We also saw reports, unfortunately, that Israel had agreed to the terms between the United States and the Qataris, yet the Egyptians might have changed some of the terms in favor of Hamas. So unfortunately right now, that the ceasefire conversations are an absolute complete mess, but make no mistake about it. The reason why there's a Rafah operation is because Hamas has not agreed to a temporary ceasefire to release the hostages.
So let's talk about the U.S. officials and many in the internet about getting into the people, civilians in Gaza. That pier, the New York Times is already saying that it's a logistical nightmare. And we're getting word this weekend that 4 ships that have been attached to the pier have become unmoored in bad weather. 2 of them running aground on a nearby beach. The New York Times adding this, little relief has reached Palestinians in the besieged strip. Several trucks were looted as they made their way to a warehouse. The World Food Program warned on Tuesday that the pier project could fail if Israel did not do more to ensure the safe distribution of the aid. You and I talked about this last time you were on. There were reports that Hamas is threatening people, even threatening to kill people who work with Israel to distribute that aid, and yet the onus is on them to get it done. What more could they be doing to facilitate highways, checkpoints, to make sure it gets to civilians?
Yeah, again, right? It's the same conversation over and over and over. Oh, it's Israel, right? No, none of the problems on getting aid have anything to do with the fact that the UN is having issues getting that aid around because it's an unsecure area because Hamas is attacking the aid. Right? Where's the pressure on Egypt to get aid, more aid through the Rafah crossing? We saw the State Department announce that they're trying to get the Egyptians to get more aid through the Rafah crossing. And so it's always Israel, right? It's Israel. Let's blame Israel. But again, the reason why there isn't humanitarian aid more going around is because it's unsafe because Hamas is attacking the convoys because Hamas wants to steal the aid. Make no mistake about it. Hamas doesn't care about the Palestinian people. Right, the leaders of Hamas are worth billions of dollars. Did they invent the product? No, they stole this money from the Palestinian people and then buried themselves underground while they left all their civilians exposed in a war that Hamas started. Okay, it's no different with this humanitarian aid. Look, Israel's doing what they can, obviously, without putting their soldiers in harm's way to get this aid to the Palestinian people. It's very important that we do that. There are innocent civilians there, women and children that need to make sure that we get aid because we have to make sure that we don't have a famine. But we need the UN and Egypt to do more.
I want to ask you quickly, because you've been critical somewhat of the president's position on the border and some of these foreign policy issues as well. Our recent polling shows that a lot of Americans agree with you. They give the edge to President Trump on immigration, on the economy, on crime, and on foreign policy. There are tough swing state polls out there for the president this week as well. And Nate Silver, one of the country's top pollsters, says he's still struggling like this by August. He should consider leaving the tickets. Is that a conversation worth having if your goal is to make sure that President Trump does not get back to the White House?
No, it's not a conversation worth having. Nate, thanks for your participation. But this is ridiculous. We're well past that conversation. President Biden is going to be the nominee. We're going to have our convention, and he's going to win in November. This is going to be between 2 people, right? It's either really, the way I look at the election is, do you want Trump back or do you not? That is the crux of the issue. I think that's what American people are going to ask themselves when they go into that ballot. Do they want President Trump back or do they don't want, or they not want him back? And that's going to depend on what's important to each solitary American. If you are for a woman's right to choose, then you will not be voting for President Trump. If you're for a woman having the right to contraception, you won't be voting for President Trump. On immigration, quite frankly, I think both parties are to blame on what's going on with immigration, right? Democrats, I've said this before, Democrats were late to come to the table. When we came to the table and got a bipartisan agreement with a conservative bill coming out of the Senate, then Republicans walked away and Trump wants to use it in the election, right? He said, blame me. And so, at the end of the day, the election is very close. We're kind of at halftime now. We're going to get out of the summer, and all of a sudden it's going to be September, October. As we go into the election, people will look at what's the state of the economy at that moment and how do they feel about the country. But it is a very close election. It's down to a couple of states.
Yeah, and right now they're not feeling good about the economy. We're going to talk about that more in the show, but Congressman, we appreciate your time. Thanks for dropping in.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, joining us now, fellow Florida Congressman, Republican Byron Donalds. Welcome back, and let me just start there and give you a chance to respond. He says, if you care about a right to choose, if you care about contraception, which, by the way, President Trump has said he does not want to touch contraception, but all these other, questions and arguments, Congressman Moskowitz says, if you care about those things, you cannot vote for your party.
Well, first of all, my colleagues are simply wrong. What Donald Trump did when he was president of the United States, he did change the Supreme Court. They did overturn Roe v. Wade, which was the right decision, but it is now left to the states. And so President Trump has been asked this question multiple times. He does not want to weigh in from the federal level. He wants the states to make this decision for themselves because every state is different. Every group of citizens in each state, they have different philosophies. And when it comes to something as personal as abortion, at this point, the president's position is the philosophies of people in the states needs to be what governs, not federal law, definitely not the Supreme Court. Obviously, with contraception, that's just simply not true. President Trump doesn't want to do anything on contraception. He wants to be able to have people. He wants people to be able to take advantage of that and use that in their personal lives.
Okay, we talked about the border a little bit. Congressman Moskowitz touched on this and said, listen, both parties take blame for not getting something done. There was a bill offered up this week in the Senate. Just about everybody admitted it was kind of a show. It was not really going to go anywhere. But it provides this talking point for President Biden saying congressional Republicans do not care about securing the border or fixing America's broken immigration system. He says you would have voted for it if you did. He said they put partisan politics ahead of our country's national security. Now, Republicans under President Trump did control the White House, House, and Senate. If you guys run the table and all of those things align again, what promises or plans can you offer to the American people about Republicans fixing the border?
Well, a couple of things. First, Donald Trump had this border secured when he was president of the United States. When Joe Biden came in, the first thing he did was rip up Trump's border policies simply because they were put in place by Donald Trump. It was a very stupid decision by Joe Biden. The country has suffered as a result. So now what we're going to do is go back to ending catch and release, go back to remain in Mexico. We are going to have to deport millions of people who should not be here because our cities and states simply cannot handle the flow of all these illegal migrants. Now you got people who are Jordanians trying to breach Quantico under Joe Biden. You saw what happened on the southern border in California the other day when they're trying to scale the wall in California, get over that wall there. So what President Trump is going to do is put back the policies that actually had our country secure. We are going to deport millions of people. It needs to be done. And then in Congress, a policy like H.R. 2, if we have the votes in the House and in the Senate, we're going to move large parts of that to become federal law, which gives the president more authorities to secure the nation.
Okay, we will wait and see. Obviously, the results of November have everything to do with those plans. But let's talk about this. President Trump is taking his argument to some non-traditional places this week. You were part of his trip into the Bronx. And he has got, people who love that idea, people who hate that idea. But you were there with him on stage. It reignited a conversation you and I have had previously on the show about race and about critics who say Republicans are using, quote, black and brown people. There is one news personality out there who says, you're being used as a prop. Here's Joy Reid.
The one black guy that Republicans love to roll out as fake proof that black people, the blacks, are just MAGA. They're MAGA. It's a joke. And just as credible as when they pretended they were going to make that guy Speaker of the House. So they weren't going to do that either.
Okay, so how do you view that statement? Is it that her own personal beliefs and experiences are such that she cannot fathom that black Americans would find a home in the GDP? Do you think she's making more of a statement about Republicans or about you?
First of all, I find Joy's comments to be nothing more than crabs in a barrel. Just because I have a different viewpoint, different way of looking at the world, different politics, now all of a sudden I'm being used. You can make an argument that MSNBC is using her, but I'm going to move on. The rally in the Bronx was amazing. You had a very diverse crowd, people from the Bronx, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, black people, white people, all there supporting President Trump because they've seen the disaster that is New York City. They've seen the disaster that has come to the United States of America because of the master of disaster, Joe Biden himself, and they want Donald Trump back. I heard what my colleague said in the previous segment. This is going to be a decision.
It's going to be a decision for the American people between two presidents. Who did the better job? And it is without question Donald Trump was a significantly better president on every metric. That's why he has support in the Bronx. That's why when the president went to Minnesota, he had support in Minnesota. And there's more support in a lot of blue areas that is for President Trump coming back. So we're looking at expanding the political map, not shrinking it based upon race or anything else, because that's what Joy Reid and Joe Biden and the rest of them want to do. They want to shrink the political map based upon previous dogma and racial lines. That is not what President Trump's focus is. His focus is on all of America.
Okay, that sounds like someone who could potentially join him on the ticket and be out there campaigning and making that conversation, that argument. So listen, when I first interviewed you, 2021, you were a brand new congressman. Clearly you had campaigned on a pro-Trump agenda. You were pro-Trump. But as with anybody who's on the VP shortlist, I'd like to ask about the fact that you at some point had not been a huge Trump fan, or you had reservations. You said he was a self-promoter. You were glad that he wasn't running against President Obama years before. But I think it's important if you're on the short list to ask where your evolution happened. Especially if you're on the ticket, you're going to be out there trying to make the argument to other people who may be skeptical about President Trump, and they want to know what your evolution on him was.
Well, actually, I'm glad you're bringing this up. What you're talking about are probably Facebook messages from 2012, 2015, where yes, I had skepticism. But you had an opportunity to watch the 2016 campaign unfold, see Donald Trump's positions on the campaign trail against Hillary Clinton. Thank God he beat Hillary Clinton. The country was better off for it. And then you watched him do the job. And I will tell you, like myself, like so many Americans, have seen Donald Trump as president, and now they've seen the country without Donald Trump as president, and they want to go back to the years of 2017.
Yeah, I'm definitely saving this one. This looks important.
Our country was significantly better on every metric. Joe Biden and the crazy left will bring up COVID-19, but listen, COVID would have been terrible for any president to get through.
Save.
Trump still did a great job getting us through.
I'll catch you guys next time, alright? Peace.
Look at anybody starts 2015, you probably have some skeptics. No doubt about that. But there is no skepticism when you look at John Biden as commander-in-chief. The world was less safer, no new wars. Our economy was better. Everybody was getting ahead. It is not the case today.
All right, Congressman Marvin Donalds, you folks out there at home have heard both sides of the argument. Congressman, we thank you for yours, and we'll see you again soon. So President Trump's New York criminal trial is coming to an end. Closing argument set to begin Tuesday. The jury can hand down a verdict as early as this week. Our legal panel is here with predictions next. As we take time throughout this Memorial Day weekend at our show to remember the fallen, including a look at the moving World War II memorial. This happens to be my favorite.